It's the 6th race weekend of the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Cup. We find ourselves at Altenberg in Saxony with a sense of deja vu, although this time last week it didn't look like this. There is snow in the air, on the trees and on the ground as we get ready for the second and deciding heat of the Women's Skeleton World Cup, which also counts for the European Championships if you're a European, and some are. Hello everybody, welcome back to our coverage. Martin Haven, and delighted to have soon-to-be new European Elizabeth Meyer joining us. And Elizabeth, we have got a great-looking battle on our hands for the medals.
Definitely, it's going to be a really close race between these top three girls. Janine Flock, who is my neighbor here in Austria, laid down a phenomenal run. She's, I think, only 1700ths off that top spot, so she'll definitely be trying to fight for that gold medal. Second, we have Rahneva. She had a career best finish last week here, finishing 4th. That was easily her best result here, and she's looking to rewrite her history on this track. And I'm super excited to see her fight for that top spot as well and see what she can really lay down in this second heat. And no surprise, leading the race is Tina Hermann. She is wildly successful as a skeleton athlete as a whole, but especially on this track. Not quite running away with the race like she did last week, only a little bit of a lead ahead of Rahneva. So we're looking forward to a really tight battle in this second heat. See who's going to take home that European Champs gold medal as well as the World Cup gold medal.
Tina Hermann in her 70th World Cup start, Janine Flock in her 100th. And here's a reference for the kids. You know how in A Hard Day's Night the Beatles all lived in 4 houses that were next to each other? That's what skeleton athletes do in Austria. Genuine, it's a fact, absolutely. Number 4, 5, 6 and 7 on the street. Yeah, they're all skeleton athletes. So, Janine Flock in with yet another European medal shot. As we said earlier, she has got a phenomenal run of success in European Championships. 10 European medals, including 3 gold, 3 silver, 4 bronze. So she's looking to keep that alive. Laura Dees did not start today. She finished in 5th place last week here, but she's a little under the weather. And of course, the World Championships are coming up fast over the horizon. They start training in St. Moritz on Sunday. That's Sunday, by the way. So they're all on the road tonight, tomorrow. Air temperature dropping as the sun has gone. It was -2 earlier, -3 now. And that makes the entertaining snowy car park warm-up area just a little more entertaining, doesn't it, Elizabeth? I'm sure
Definitely.
You're looking there longingly, wishing you were skating around in the slush.
I'm enjoying my warm basement, thank you very much. But I certainly remember many car park warm-ups, and it's definitely difficult. It's not like track and field where you're guaranteed to have warm weather, but...
Yeah, you've never been to a track and field meeting in the UK, have you? Moving right along, there is how they line up for our second heat. Rahneva and Tina Hermann will go last of all. And one athlete did not make it through. Race 6, the BMW IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup gets underway here in Altenberg with Jacqueline Luerge of Canada, Martin Haven and her former teammate Elizabeth Meyer watching the action with you.
Ran it a little bit short there on the start. It's hard here in Altenberg. It's a long start.
Yeah, La Plana, I think, is probably the longest on the planet. Athletes always say they're going for a full marathon there. I think here's maybe a half marathon start.
Definitely.
Well, Jacqueline in her 9th World Cup start, her 6th World Cup start, I beg your pardon, in what she says is going to be her last season of sliding.
Just trying to make it to the St. Moritz World Champs next week.
Listen, you know, it is the place everybody wants to race at, isn't it? So, yeah, making it onto the World Cup this season and going to the Worlds in St. Moritz, she'll be really keen for that. 109 kilometers an hour, that's 67.7 miles an hour.
A little bit skiddy here on the track, but it looks like the snow's not quite sticking like it did in that first heat.
Well, she had a 60.52 in the first heat, a 60.93 in the second, and the athletes keeping themselves tucked out of the airstream to try and make it as close to the finish as possible. I'm not sure I've ever seen crash mats used here at Altenberg. They're just not required like they are at some other tracks where you come hurtling into the finish area at unmitigated speed.
Definitely. And so with the skeleton sled, we don't have brakes. So our toes are our brakes, or our wind brakes, or we hit those mattresses. But here she is going 4 to 5, a bit of the tap as she's into the heads into corner 5. Off of 9 here, with just a little bit of pressure towards the slider's right. You can see that toe just tapping behind her to bring her back to that left-hand side into Kreisel.
So Jacqueline Luerge of Canada is down and done. Top 20 finish guaranteed for her. And that is her World Cup race. She didn't race here last week rather. Kelly Delka next up for Puerto Rico. Finished in 20th place last week, so on target for a better result at the moment. 19th after the first heat. Is this going to be another personal best?
Bit tricky being a bit from a smaller nation. She's on her own here, and so she doesn't have a coaching staff. She doesn't have the support that some of the bigger nations have. So for her to be in the top 20 is really an awesome setup.
And as you documented in the first heat, traveling here, her luggage went astray, and luggage doesn't just include, you know, your underwear and your t-shirts. It also included her skeleton sled, so she missed one of the 2 days of training for last week's race. Still made a top 20 finish.
And it's really hard when you're missing out on those. And then you're also stressed because your sled is, in a lot of ways, your baby.
Yeah, and it's wherever the heck it is on the planet and nobody's telling you. She was 200s up on Jacqueline Luerge at the end of the first heat. She's out to 4 tenths and change. She's looking at a nice slide from Kelly Delka.
Bit loopy there at the bottom of the track, but she's going to stay ahead.
60.44 compared to 60.50, and that was half a second quicker than Jacqueline Luerge in the second heat, so she takes that advantage. She will be no worse than 19th, and that means that is another PB here in Altenberg, and it's all about being better than the last time you were on ice.
Definitely, and I think these athletes will be looking at last week, saying, okay, where can we improve on? We're moving on from there. You see both toes tapping behind her through Kreisel, the right one, then her left one. That's just trying to get the sled a little bit more parallel and covering a little bit less ice. As she comes off of Kreisel, a little bit airborne, just a bit too much pressure as she heads into corner 11.
Well, there is Kelly, PB here. No worse than 19th. She moves into the leader's box. I saw another athlete between the two heats I was not expecting to see here. Ghana's Kwasi Frimpong. He wasn't in the men's race, but he was forerunning on his way to St. Moritz. Our 50th World Cup start for Kendall Wesenberg of the USA. And her teammate Austin Florian was within a hair's breadth of a bronze medal in the men's race. Had he claimed it, it would have been the first time since 2016 December, when Lake Placid saw Matt Antoine, the coach there, whose legs you can see, claim a bronze medal. That was Matt's last in a World Cup race. So I was astonished to note that John Daly never got a World Cup medal. I thought, no, that can't be right. Apparently so. Anyway, 50th race for Kendall Wesenberg. Said to her this morning, is this marry, snog, or avoid? She said, maybe kiss. I think actually, first run, it's definitely avoid. She's a long way from where she was last week.
She's been dealing with injuries. She needs to get some surgery done, so she's a little bit off on her start as to where she would like it to be. She's on a new sled this year as well.
A lot of steering there at the end of 4. There's quite a gap ahead of her, 3300s to Agathe Bessard, who was 17th after the first heat, which is where Kendall was last week.
Nice looking Kreisel into 11-12, a little bit air time.
Working hard, you can see her legs swiveling from the hips, and there you go again, just counter steering away. The sled's trying to break into a skid. Talked about the weather forecast, Liz. It was supposed to be bright and sunny, so it should be hard, fast ice, and looks like the weather changing has really caught everybody out.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit surprising, especially when we saw Tina Hermann like run away with the race last week, just had a perfect setup, and now she's within
So it's exactly the same deal here. Well, Kendall, a bit comme-ci, comme-ça with that run. And so too was this young lady, Agathe Bessard, France from La Plagne. She wasn't entirely convinced about her first heat, but she has a handy advantage over Wesenberg, so let's see if she can hang on to that.
Agathe's from La Plagne, France, but she actually splits her time between Austria and La Plagne, so I guess she'd be considered one of my neighbors as well, too, there, Mark. Nice looking 4-5 transition.
59 hundredths up, so she was 37 hundredths up from the first heat over Kendall Wesenberg. She's adding a lot to that already. Wow.
Really a nice looking run that Agathe's putting down here.
Well, she learned how not to crash on a skeleton sled in La Plagne, which is another really intense driver's track like this one. No surprise, she feels quite at home here.
Definitely. She's not the best starter, but boy, is she having a good run here.
Over a second, the gap now over Kendall Wesenberg. This could be a big leap up the order from Agathe Bessard. 59.36. Are you kidding me? That's 32 hundredths quicker than her first heat. And that would have seen her, a few more places up the order. 59.36 for Agathe Bessard. So that is an
really
83 hundredths of a second lead in that heat alone over Kendall Wesenberg.
Nice control through Kreisel. And Kreisel in corner 4, you're in that balance of not doing too much, but doing enough that you're not going to be on your side or scorpion on the exit, and she does a really great job of that. Coming off of 14, just as she comes over that little lip, there's a weightlessness, and that's where the sled breaks out a little bit.
She had to roll herself there onto her left side to get into 15 in some kind of shape, but Agathe Bessard with a big second run. Now then, what about Valentina Margaglio? Crashed out last week. Crashed out in the first race last year and came back for silver. She is not coming back from silver from 16th and 1.12 seconds off the lead, but can she find a decent run to end her fortnight here? 5:46 getaway.
Good start by Valentina Margaglio, as we expected to see from her. She is really quick on the start.
Interesting that she was a tenth of a second faster in the first heat, 5:36. And I wonder if the colder temperatures are affecting the start. We'll find out soon, I'm sure.
Nice upper part of the track. Now Kreisel's her nemesis. We got to see how she goes through this. Really controlling the pressures in there, just flattening it out a lot. You lose a bit of speed there, but for her, it's going to be like just confidence getting through there.
Well, she's losing ground. Was 7,700 hundredths up now, down to 5,600 hundredths. Second best speed. Agathe Bessard was the quickest all the way down so far. 59.03. 3/10 quicker than Bessard managed. And that's 33 hundredths, a third of a second faster than her first run. But still not really in the ballpark with where she expects to be on this track. She's been a silver medalist. She knows that she should be in the top 6 pretty much any time she rocks up to a track.
For sure. And sometimes it's just really difficult if you have a poor Kreisel or something to get back on the sled and get through it again with not doing too much or too little again, just to get that confidence back.
And important after crashing out last week in the first heat. She had the fastest start. She was in the lead when she crashed. So lots to think about. She'll be happy to see Altenberg in her rearview mirror this evening and head on to a very different location in St. Moritz. May not have the vast amounts of snow on the ground that we're used to seeing in St. Moritz, but the temperature is dropping, so hopefully the track will be in good shape. Valentina Margaglio leads 5 down, 15 to go in Altenberg. Race 6, the BMW IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup. Martin Haven and Elizabeth Meyer watching the action. 18-year-old rookie Addie Clark at the line for the USA. Started her career sliding as a Canadian and became a US slider this year. Under-20 junior world champion. She claimed that title last week in Winterberg when she was 4th in the overall junior worlds.
She's a quick starter as well. So not only is she young, has a bright future ahead of her, she's really talented on the start as well.
So 5:64 getaway. Started in the World Cup in Whistler this season. She took a silver medal, tied for the silver. I mean, what a great way to start her World Cup career. Somebody I know did that as well. You didn't start in Whistler, but you started with a silver and then went straight on to claim a gold. She didn't have that in Park City, but great to see such a young slider coming out and making an impact immediately.
Definitely, and I'm excited to see what the rest of Hallie's career will look like for her. She's a very talented athlete.
Of course, she knew the North American tracks much better than the European ones. She's sort of here learning as she goes, and Samaritz will bring more of that.
And this is a very difficult track to be learning on. And she wasn't here last week like those other athletes were because of the Junior World Championship. So she's just lacking a little bit of run volume that the other girls have had.
First heat, 59.32. Second heat, 59.32. And I guarantee if you overlaid the video, apart from where she stood at the block, probably nothing would be the same.
Probably.
And that's the deal, isn't it? You know, you win on one corner and then you end up giving it away on another because you're approaching it from an entirely different speed and angle.
Definitely. And it's so difficult to be consistent on these tracks. And this may be, I think, her only third trip or second trip to Altenberg. So she's got lots of time to tackle this track. And I'm sure we'll see her as a medal contender in a few years.
Yeah, she raced in January 22 here in the Intercontinental Cup. Her previous appearance took a 3rd and 4th place finish. That's the 2nd tier of sliding below World Cup. Next up, Nicole Silveira of Brazil. She raced in both World Championships here and 3 World Cups, including last week, where she finished 9th. Her World Cup career best is an 8th place finish from the race in Whistler. Let's see what she's got here.
She's having quite a good World Cup season this year. Joe Cecchini is now the head coach of Brazil. And they have a coaching cooperation with her girlfriend's team from Belgium, Kim Melemans, as well, which is super interesting.
And she only did 6 World Cup races last season, looking to do the whole season this year. And the more you do it, Elizabeth, the more you get that run volume, particularly on the European tracks. She's from Calgary, so she knows North America better. You've got to have that all-round knowledge.
Definitely. And getting run volume is a little bit tricky in our sport. You get 6 training runs, 2 race runs, and to nail down a track is difficult in that short amount of time.
She's losing ground, hand over fist here to Valentina Margaglio and to Addie Clark. Addie only 1500s back at the line. 3rd place, just ahead of Agathe Bessard by 2200ths of a second. So Nicole slips a couple of spots. She was 14th in the first heat, and with 13 sleds remaining, she is in 3rd place. So not the result of last week.
Now a little bit of a messy run there for her. Her sled's being grabbed by Alfia at the bottom of the track.
Mentioned in the first heat, last year her average position was 16.5. This year it's been 10.8. That's right back on last year's average, I'm afraid.
I'm sure she'll bring it back for the rest of the season as well. Altenberg's a tricky one. It can go sweet and it can not.
Can go sweet and can go very sour very quickly.
Yes, definitely. Coming over the brow here, she's got a little bit of a skid. Body's like a banana, just trying to bring it back online.
It was all of the training errors combined in one race run, wasn't it? That was not handy. Next up for China, Zhao Dan. And Zhao, one of the younger athletes in the field, still just 20 years of age. Last week was her first official race here. This is only her 9th World Cup start.
The Chinese program is quite young, so it's going to be really cool to see them progress over the next 4 years. What?
Yeah, interesting little rattle and a clatter there.
A little bit of a tap for corner 2.
I was suddenly thinking of that 2 to 3 transition on the track in Beijing from February.
Yes.
Which caught so many people out.
She's a little bit loose here, kind of tapping a few more times than she would like.
Well, she didn't have much of an advantage over Valentina Margaglio after the start. Her 2/10 was given away in that start. Let's see if she can bring it back. She's bringing the margin down from 18 to 16 to 1300s, 600s. Yeah.
Gonna be close here at the finish line.
Well, this is classic what Mark Wood teaches them. Just let it fly, and across the line by 1400s. So she came from 1800s back to 1400s up. That is a big turnaround. And that shows that Valentina Margaglio was losing ground all the way down the track.
I think she found the German shortcut there at the bottom. I don't know what Dirk's teaching them, but...
Well, if he doesn't know the German shortcut here, and he's coached Tina Hermann for so many years, then no one knows it.
True. Just here she goes, loading onto her sled. Gets her hands tucked under her legs. That's how we hold on to the sled. There's a piece of metal that we can grip onto. Head nice and low for that nice aerodynamic position. You know, she took some big waves in Kreisel. She didn't panic. She steered them accordingly, and she ended up with a good exit. That's one thing about a Kreisel is you have to relax with the big pressures.
And kind of the key is get off safe. It's like riding a carousel. You know, getting on is easy. Anyone can do it. Getting off, that's where the skill is involved. Very easy to have a very big unload out of the carousel, out of the Kreisel here.
Yes, definitely.
So Zhao Dan leads, 8 sleds down, 12 remaining. Matthias Guggenberger hanging on to the sled there for Great Britain's Brogan Crowley. So only 2 of the 3 British female sliders competing today. Laura Dees dropping out of the race this morning. She's not feeling well. And as ever, you know, everybody shares the same small changing rooms. And it's like when the kids go back to school, as you know as a mum, you know, as soon as the kids go back, everybody catches everything off everybody else. So hopefully
it's not always the funnest.
No, hopefully Laura will be feeling a bit better next week. Let's see what Brogan's got. Well, 5th fastest start, 5:55. She's tied for 11th with Germany's, or Czech Republic's, Anna Fernstaedt.
Brogan's had lots of surgeries on her ankles. You were mentioning she had it on her feet as well. And now she's struggling with a bit of a back injury too. So she's not quite where she would be on the start.
Athletes just move problems around, don't they?
Yeah.
Again, talking to Alexander Schlintner, he said, I came off the Kreisel in the second heat, the best I have ever done in my entire life. And he said, then coming down into corner 11, I had no idea where I was. Well, because you were getting in there faster than ever before. And that's all part of it, is you've suddenly got to adapt. If the Kreisel goes really well, you get slung down here at much greater speed into the lower labyrinth, and then suddenly you don't really know where you are.
I've definitely experienced that, got through Kreisel nicely, and then was on my side out of 15.
All right, well, let's hope for a little less of that then for Brogan Crowley. She was 5100s up at the line, 2500s, yeah. All right, 58.89 run for her. Now, that might be enough to break the tie with the equal 11th place finisher in the first heat, Anna Fernstaedt. So is she on target for a top 10? Brogan was 16th last week, so she's going to beat that quite comfortably.
And put her in good positioning for that European champs as well.
She has had 2 World Cup starts here with 2 16th place finishes. And you're right, the Europeans, she will be firmly in the top 10.
Coming off of 4, she does get that little blip into 5. It is more gentle than it has been in other years into 5. Big skid over the brow there, and a tap just as she enters 15.
That's what sliced a quarter of a second out of her time in the final 3 corners. So, Brogan Crowley, the current leader, was tied with Anna Fernstaedt. Anna set the time, Brogan tied it later in the run, and that's why Brogan went first. So Anna next up for the Czech Republic. She's been a bronze medalist on this track when she was sliding for Germany. Much smaller team now for the Czech Republic, understandably. Let's see what she can produce.
Anna's not the quickest on the start, but she sure can drive a sled really, really well. Like you mentioned, she has that track knowledge and that experience from coming from a German program. Learning on a track like Altenberg is...
Yeah. There's nothing like German knowledge on a German track. The sound has the familiar sound of a Schneider, but she's gone from 3,500s back at the start to 6/10 back now.
Really nice exit of Kreisel.
Best speed, but is there enough ice to gain half a second on Brogan Crowley? If she's straight here, there might be. She's straight here, best speed of all. Not enough, surely 3,600s back into 15 at the line. No, oh my Lord. 3,600s back, and she sliced it in 2 corners to 400ths of a second. That's how important those final 3 corners are. It's not just the end of the run, it's everything.
Definitely. And I'm sure she'll be looking back at her run thinking where she could have been better as she loads onto the start as well. Every 100th matters. Gets her hands tucked underneath her, grab the sled where she holds on to.
Well, she found 500s at the start. Brogan found 700s, but here, look at this, tracking nice and straight down towards the Kreisel.
Nice and relaxed, shoulders down.
Yeah. It's always tough when you lose in the second heat by such a small margin. Brogan Crowley leads from Anna Fernstaedt and Dan Zhao Dan. 10 down, 10 to go.
And the tricky thing is she won't know how small the margin is yet.
She does now. Next up, our Olympic and double junior world champion, Hannah Neise. There's another double senior world champion in the field. She'll go last, but Hannah won her 2nd consecutive junior worlds last week in Winterberg. Did not race here. Should be less of a drama for her because, of course, she's a German slider, so knows the track well enough.
You can really see how relaxed these German athletes are through the super tricky corners like corner 4 and Kreisel.
Not mistake-free, though. That's quite a big skid.
It definitely was.
It's quite a big skid for anybody. It's a really big skid for a German slider who's also the Olympic champion. Best speed of all, though. Here we go.
Really gentle steering through Kreisel. A little bit of a tap there on her right as she enters 11.
Well, she had 500s in hand over Brogan Crowley and Anna Fernstaedt from the first heat. It was out to 6/10. It's down to 3,900s. We just saw Fernstaedt bring back 3,400s. No, not enough. Brogan climbs into the top 10 with the Olympic champion behind her on a German track. I think that will feel like a very big second run for Brogan Crowley.
Definitely. A couple of oopses there by the German athlete. It is hard. She also missed out on last week because she was at Junior World Championships, and although it's one of her home tracks, it's still hard to miss out.
And the reason that they sent the Olympic champion to the Junior Worlds is the Junior World Champion gets an automatic entry no matter what nation they're from in the World Championships. And that means that Germany's allocation of 3 does not include her. She'll go anyway. So the Germans then have the option to bring in what is effectively a 4th slider, and that is likely to be Jacqueline Luerge. So they have 4 medal hopes, with Jacqueline Luerge, Susanne Kreher, Tina Hermann, and Olympic champion Hannah Neise. I mean, talk about loaded with all the talent. Well, Brogan Crowley enjoying her time in the leader's box.
She's had a great season this year, winning her first ever World Cup medal.
Yeah, that's a big red letter day. And it was as well in Lake Placid, last time out in North America for this lady, Kelly Curtis. What a big result that was. The 33-year-old. She was 9th here last week. She was 9th after the first heat. And her advantage over Brogan Crowley, an enormous 600ths of a second. Remember those 8 sleds that were covered by about 1,200ths? Yeah, we're right in the thick of that now.
We're definitely going to see some movement between these athletes up and down. She heads into these top parts of the track. There's not a lot of decline, so you're just trying to move as little as possible.
Not too much steering in 4. Nice exit right down the middle into corner 5 and into the labyrinth. Right, she's 1700s back on Brogan Crowley.
Nice exit there.
And she's half the margin. Look, lots of waves in the Kreisel, but the speed was good and the exit's pretty decent as well. 400s back.
She is having a really nice run here.
And she is just so fluid. 300s back. Only 4th best speed, but if she's clean here and doesn't skid, she'll take the lead. In the lead, she is going to equal 9th place at least that she gained last week. 58.78. So, Brogan Crowley out of the leader's box.
That was a great run by her.
She just looks so relaxed in the first heat and in the second.
I wonder if it's having this 2 weeks here just starting to really flow with the track.
I think you're right. It just gives you more knowledge, more confidence, and then you can let the sled fly.
Because she's totally relaxed, even though she's at the belly and she's at the roof. Her toe behind her steering.
And it was only heading in the 3rd pressure to control the exit that she actually bothered to steer at all in the Kreisel. I mean, a big steer. So
yeah, you can see her fighting the wall a little bit, but
she doesn't have to start doing those in Italian soon, or they're not going to let her back in. Kelly Curtis, the leader, with the final 8 sleds remaining. Next up is Li Yuxi of China, 24 years of age. Last week, her first official race on this track. 13th placed finish, also her World Cup best. So right now, if she can even hang on to where she is 8th fastest, that will be a huge personal best.
it'll be really interesting because there's not a lot of margin between these athletes, this little group of athletes.
Yeah, she had 300s over Kelly Curtis, but she started slower, so she's behind already.
She took a big hit as she entered corner 3.
As she did in the first heat, didn't she?
Yeah, just an interesting place to struggle a little bit.
Yeah, she's obviously got a very different run through 1 and 2 that puts her somewhere that nobody else ends up. And a big knee steer there into the Kreisel. Huge second wave. She's got it off. But where's the speed?
A bit loopy, but...
Yeah. A little loopy. 4200s back. Unfortunately, if you haven't got it by corner 4 here, you're never getting it. And at the line, only the 7th fastest run, she drops 6 spots. 59.26 for Li Yuxi. But as we said, only 2 race weekends on this track. So that's 16 runs. Now, she may have been here pre-season before or in the development phase, but in terms of actual races, it's very slender pickings.
Definitely. And she's got time in her career to come back here and fix this 2 to 3. I think she was just fighting just a little bit too much.
Ooh, and she hits the expansion joint.
Big one, yeah. A little bit unlucky there.
Is that Gandalf hanging out beside the track there?
Yeah. And
look at the skid again.
Skid.
Yeah, huge skid. That's where the big steer was into the Kreisel. She was really trying to haul it on. So now the bright yellow helmet marks out Alessandra Fumagalli. I am loving this helmet livery as well. The big smiley
tennis
face.
Ball.
Yeah, tennis ball, smiley face, all sorts of second summer of love vibes going on. She wasn't born then, but yeah, maybe her mum and dad told her about it. Alessandra had a really good first heat. Our 21st starter in only her 4th World Cup race.
And she's in that tight group of athletes, so she's going to have a good run to overhaul Kelly Curtis.
Yeah, she had 900s in hand, but she started quicker than Kelly, so that is now out to 2/10 and growing. No, not growing.
I think that tap entry corner 5 just stole a bit of her speed.
Again, we haven't seen much of this young woman. Only her 4th World Cup. I like the way she's holding her form. That is going to serve her in the long run when her steering gets a little better.
Exactly, and I mean, this goal is going to be in 4 years when they have home Olympics.
Well, she's dropping behind Brogan Crowley and behind Anna Fernstaedt. She is in danger of dropping behind Hannah Neise of Germany as well, the Olympic champion, 4th or 5th at the line. Ooh, 7th. So Kelly Curtis climbs the order. Willi Schneider, he has a little bit of work to do with Alessandra Fumagalli, but she starts well, Elizabeth, and she has no fear on the sled. So all that it needs is just to feel that ice a little more and have some run volume.
And I mean, it's the farthest she's been up in a World Cup as well. So it's a different feeling when you're going later as well, making sure you know what to do. So it's a great experience for her.
Well,
just a bit too much height at the exit of 4.
Only one athlete left in the dressing room when she came out to start her first heat, so at least there's a few more in when she's going out for the second. But you're absolutely right. You know, when you're up in the top 10 unexpectedly, it's a very different feeling. Yeah, it was her best time. Well, maybe the second best time. Alessandra Fumagalli slips down the order. Kelly Curtis leads with 6 to go. There is the US slider. And we are still in that tight clutch, by the way, because the next athlete on track, Kimberley Bos, had, I'm going to do maths live on air, everybody, 68, 78, 81, 1300. There you go, 1300s in hand. I should have just waited for the screen to show me. On a Bromley sled. Hello, Kristen. Hello, Richard.
And held by Joska Leconte. They're old teammates now as a coach and athlete situation.
Yep. And Kimberley Bos, what a season last year with a couple of wins, the first in her careers in World Cup, ended up as the World Cup champion and also ended up as an Olympic medalist. I mean, you know, if there's a year to really hit your form, that's how you do it. 5:49 getaway, and that's 600s quicker than her first start. Little tap there, though.
Yeah, a little bit loopy there.
Oh, and really driving it hard off 4. You just saw the sled rotate there at the second pressure of 4, and a big hit there on the expansion joint.
Just a little bit out of control, I think.
Well, driving a bit like she stole it, which is the Christian Bromley way of sliding. He'll say, no, I was all those neater than that, but I have video. Still in the lead.
But she's losing a little bit of speed, just bleeding a little bit with the taps.
Oh, 10th in it. It's her or Kelly Curtis for a top 6 finish. It's going to be really close. Could it be a tie? No, she hangs on. 58.79. And there you go. There's that extra 3 or 4 years of experience on this track over Kelly Curtis, her US rival. Well, that is a good day at the office for the USA's Kelly Curtis. 9th last week gave her all the encouragement she needed, and she will be no worse than 7th now.
And we're still in that really tight group of athletes, so we could still see some movement. A little bit of a bump there on the sliders left, but doesn't really change her sled angle at all. This is a bit of a funky tap that she had at that top labyrinth.
Kind of a little late everywhere, which is unlike Kim. But Bromley sleds do kind of, I was going to say allow, more encourage a bit of a loosey-goosey rock and roll lifestyle kind of sliding style. Kimberley Bos leads, 5 to go. And the first of our 2 Canadians in the top 5, Jane Channell from North Vancouver, 900ths of a second her advantage over Kimberley Bos, the current leader from the first of our 2 heats.
Jane is a quick starter. She's from North Vancouver. And on her sled, she's got from the Lionsgate Bridge, she's got a lion on there to represent her home.
Well, she lost 100th of her advantage at the start over Kimberley Bos. Let's see if she can hang on to it early on. Watch the second pressure. That looked a whole lot smoother than nice. Kim. But look, she's only level. Now she pulls out a fraction more.
You're going to have to push this speed all the way through Kreisel.
Really whipped up onto turn 9, Tudai there. Only the 8th best speed into the Kreisel.
Nice exit. You didn't hear a tap as she entered corner 11.
Just clawing her way free of Kimberley Bos at the moment.
But she's losing her lead.
Yeah. Working a little too hard to control the sleds. Bos leads. Wow. 58.99. That run was 2 tenths slower than Kimberley Bos. So Jane Channell slips to 2nd place. It should still be a top half dozen run.
I think this is a season best for Jane as well.
Now, is it an all-time best on this track? No, her previous all-time best here was a 6th place finish, so she will tie that, but she was 11th last week.
And she did win a medal, a silver medal in that team competition during the World Championships. Just a little bit drifting as she enters into Kreisel, trying to get it back to the slider's left side.
But you're absolutely right. It is her best result of the season so far. Previously, that was 8th place in Whistler. At least a 6th place finish here.
Thanks everyone for watching.
So I think she will feel a little happier heading towards, she doesn't fall over on the ice and injure herself anyway, heading towards St. Moritz. Okay, 4 to go, including 2 German sleds, first of whom is Susanne Kreher.
Quick starter, and this is her home track.
Silver medalist last week, only 4th after the first run. 5:57 is a couple of hundreds crept in from her last start.
You can see just a little bit of movement on her legs, trying to get the sled over to where she wants it to go.
This is her home track where she learned to slide growing up. It's only her 8th World Cup, but she knows this track inside out, back to front.
Because it is her home track, they really know the difference between oversteering this and letting it go and when to let it go. So we're going to see this happen right here.
And when the weather changes and when the track changes, it's less of a surprise and you figure out how to deal with it. And look at this. This is a huge run.
This is a great run.
6,300. She could be 8 tenths clear of Kimberley Bos at the line. This is Kreher fighting for the medals. 6,600's up. 58.58 run. If that doesn't earn her a medal, then the remaining 3 sliders will have done one heck of a job. That is a big, big run from Susanne Kreher.
Really a great run that she put down.
58.58. Her first heat was a 58.57. So talk about grouping and consistency. No wonder there's the smile.
Swapping from running with 1 hand to 2 hands as she prepares to load onto the sled. Gonna sneak her hands underneath her legs to hold on. There's little handles for us to hold on to. Preciseness in the Kreisel. You can see her toes kicking that ice to steer and change the sled angle. And then she's able to relax through the final bit.
Big smile from Susanne Kreher on her home ice. Is she gonna take a medal here like she did a week ago? Silver medalist in race 5 of the World Cup here in Altenberg. She leads with 3 to go. And among those 3, so much experience, not least from this woman, Janine Flock, World Cup start number 100. Elizabeth Meyer started 42 World Cup races. I'm sure you remember most of them. 12 World Cup medals with 3 golds. And Elizabeth, Janine was sliding when you arrived. You're now commentating on her continuing to slide. Now, staying healthy for 100 World Cup races. Bear in mind, there are 8 a season. That's a long time sliding.
What a great career Janine has had and continues to have. I mean, she's had injuries. She's come back from injuries. She had back surgery this year. She's sitting in a medal spot.
Yep.
Less than 3 months after a back injury, a back surgery. That's pretty dang impressive.
Yeah, she still says she's about 75, 80% there. And of course, that affects you when you're sliding as well, because you're not as relaxed as you would like to be. But look at this. Man, this woman can drive a sled.
She can drive. And she started sliding with the Meyer family as well, with Rafi and Sammy and Benny as well.
Yeah, it's Manny Meyer, the father, who's responsible because they lived in the same street, and Janine's dad said, you know, my kid's hanging around with nothing to do, she hasn't got a sport, and he said, hey, I'll take her up to the bobsleigh track.
And that's
what he's
exactly
gone and done.
what happened.
100th up, 100th back, 100th up, 100th back. Second best speed to Susanne Kreher. Is this a medal for Janine? Yes, it is a medal for Janine.
Super.
Unbelievably tight. That was an arm wrestle all the way down that no one could call.
That was great. A little bit of oopses out of the Exeter Kreisel there. I'm sure she'll be thinking about that. But
that little fist pump.
Yeah, she's at least vice European champion as well.
Yet another. She's got 10 European medals, including 3 golds, and she is potentially going to take an 11th here, and that might be her 4th European silver medal. Still 2 sleds to come. Well, there was nothing in it. The biggest margin was at the start. She was 500s back, then 200s back, 100th up, 100th back, tied, 100th up, 100th back, 100th at the line. Unbelievable.
What a great race from Janine.
And what a great athlete. She's just so humble and so much fun to be around. As is Mimi Rahneva, 2 to go, 400s ahead of Janine Flock. And Flock and Kreher only 100th apart. Basically, you beat them both or neither of them. You're either going to be first or third.
Yep. And Mimi's been going back between 2 different sleds this year. It's really cool because it shows her ability as an athlete to be able to swap between the 2.
I'm going to say it sounds like a Schneider. We'll probably find out it was the Bromley.
It is.
It
no,
does.
it's a Schneider.
It does sound like a Schneider. They have a distinct rattle.
Yes. Bit of a loose run here for Mimi. She's got to bring it back together.
No, but this isn't... Yeah, she's up from 29 down to 2200s. Still has a lead. 10th best, but only 6th best speed. Is she going to be in the medals? 500s up for Mimi Rahneva. Little skid. Going into 15. Is it enough at the line? No, it's not.
No.
And she falls behind them both.
Oh, no.
Top 3, Elizabeth Meyer, covered by 200ths of a second. Man, that's tight.
I nearly shut my eyes. I couldn't bear to watch.
I'm sure Mimi did shut her eyes. 200s. She may yet take a medal. All right. My heart.
My heart too, Mimi.
Yeah.
Like, just a little bit messy here, 3 to 4. She had a bit of a skid entry of 3, and then as she goes on to 4, a bit too much on the entrance of the corner. She tapped, and then unfortunately, 4 to 5, she did as well.
4th last week. And
At
she's
least
3rd
4th.
with 1 to go. It'll be a joint PB for Mimi Rahneva in her 45th World Cup race, but in her 70th World Cup start, Tina Hermann, undefeated on this track since 2019. And she has been in the medals every year since 2015, except once. 578. With Hermann, here especially, it is not about the start.
No, definitely not. She is very good on this track. She took a bit of a tap there, though, on the entrance to 4.
Yeah, a little skid onto 4.
Ooh.
And that margin was tiny to start with. Only 1700s over Janine, who started quicker by a 10th.
She just found 2 10ths.
Yeah, well, you know, she carries them around in her back pocket for special emergencies. And not losing here in Altenberg is definitely a special emergency. Accelerating away, afterburners fully lit. Tina Hermann, she's half a second up. This will be nearly 3/4 at the line, because this is where she makes the gold medals happen. 62 hundredths up. She is our race winner and the European champion in women's skeleton. And Tina Hermann takes her 6th consecutive gold medal on this track. 4 consecutive World Cups, 2 World Championships, and that is a European gold medal as well.
Well done, Tina.
I don't care who you are, this woman is gonna be tough to beat here, probably for most of the next decade.
So long as she's sliding, I think she's gonna be tough to beat.
Wow.
With her iconic fist bump too, or fist pump at the bottom of the track.
Well, she may not have the Axel Jung fan club down here, but what a result again for Tina Hermann. Man, yeah. If she shows up on crutches at the start line, you still fear her potential.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Especially
she's talking about like 3
this.
to 4. Do you see that? That little skid and then a big loop in 4. Let's watch it again.
She is a perfectionist on the sled as well. You always see her head bobbing left and right to get exactly what she wants.
There's the skid. There's the big loop onto 4, and she had to drive it through both pressures of 4. Rare mistake by Tina Hermann.
But she knew exactly what to do to not lose too much speed.
Yeah.
And that's...
Do the other Hermanator bits good. Yeah. I think we're going to have to adopt that. Originally it was Hermann Meyer. I think in this place, she is the Hermanator.
I think so.
Tina Hermann claims gold and European Championship gold. Silver for Janine Flock, her 4th European silver medal. Susanne Kreher rounds out the top 3, as she did last week. It's silver medal she took there. She was 3rd this week. She's the European bronze medalist. Kimberley Bos will be 4th in the Europeans. Brogan Crowley 5th, ahead of Anna Fernstaedt in 6th, because of course our North American and other athletes do not compete for the Europeans. But a good run again to 4th place by Mimi, even tighter, just 100th out of the medals.
I think she's definitely changed the story of Altenberg for her.
Yep.
So next time she's here, watch out.
Well, Mimi and everybody else now head to everybody's favourite place on the planet of sliding, I think, St. If you're a racing driver, you always want to go to Monaco. If you're an ice slider, you want to go to St. Moritz. It is so different, so otherworldly. And Tina Hermann and Mimi Rahneva will be 1st and 2nd in the points, as Mimi just creeps 2 ahead of Kimberley Bos. Susanne Kreher at 4 with a bullet, and Kelly Curtis ahead of the Olympic champion Hannah Neise. Good season so far for Anna Fernstaedt, still in 7th place, and Nicole Silveira 9th in the overall standings for the Brazilian, just ahead of Brogan Crowley. So
really a great season for Nicole Silveira. Like you said,
really
she's averaged up.
Yeah, absolutely. She's taken 5 grade points average out of what she did last year and really bumped herself into a firm top 10 contender every time out. We've got 2 more World Cups to come. Normally that would all be before the World Championships, but World Champs come up in the next couple of weeks for everybody. And then we go to your hometown, Innsbruck in Austria, and Sigulda in Latvia to round out the season. And Tina Hermann looking for another World Cup champion's crown. She's our European champion, as she claims her 3rd gold medal of the season in 6 starts. And her 6th straight win in Altenberg. Well, World Championship, World Cup, call it what you like. Tina Hermann on the track, watch her win gold, and then see who else takes what other positions.
She certainly put on a masterclass last week and this week for Altenberg for any athlete that wants to know how to slide it.
Yes,
definitely go and watch some. Go watch some Tina video.
Yeah, we'll add her video to that of Martin Stuckers, and between the 2 of them, you pretty much got everything you need to know. There is the result then. Tina Hermann by 6/10 from anyone else. Janine Flock by 100th from Susanne Kreher. These are the European Championship standings. with Kimberley Bos fourth, head of Brogan Crowley, and Anna Fernstaedt. Hannah Neise, the Olympic champion. On the World Championships. Who's going to come out on top there? I'm not putting money on anybody. That is going to be a tough four-heat race, and we will hopefully have the presence again of Elizabeth Meyer with us then. From Elizabeth, from me, Martin Haven, and the IBSF TV crew, thank you for joining us. We will see you tomorrow for bobsleigh action with the Monobob and the two-man.